We did talk a little bit about the striptease element,
Yeah.
and I think that you can do a striptease and it doesn't even have to be that big of a thing. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of husbands watch their wives get undressed in general, just like trying to get changed for the day. I think that a lot of times there's this idea there has to be a lot of production behind this kind of thing, but there doesn't.
You're listening to Get Your Marriage On, the fun and spicy podcast bringing you new tools and fresh ideas so that you can be the sexiest couple you know.
Everyone, welcome to this episode of Get Your Marriage On. Today I'm lucky to have my guests Keelie and Austin Reason from Love, Hope, Adventure. Keelie and Austin are sex experts. They blog about various sexual topics and always in the context of marriage with a good Christian background. So they resonate really well with my values. I'm really happy to have you two on today. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Not only that, today is also St. Patrick's Day, which is a fun holiday for all those that want to get lucky today. So
That's right.
That's great. Can you tell me a little about your background? How did you start Love, Hope, Adventure? Did you always know you were going to help couples and coach them with sexuality stuff?
I'll start by saying no and then pass to her. I didn't have any idea.
You know what's interesting is that I started the conversation with teenagers.
Yeah.
And my parents talked to me a lot about sex. And because of that, our church held like True Love Waits retreats. And then I started leading them, which I know a lot of people are recovering from the purity culture saying that it really hurt them. But I find the complete opposite with how our church handled it in my church and my parents. And then one day I was asked to talk in a MOPS group for Valentine's, and I'm like, well, duh, I have to talk about sex. What else are you talking about on Valentine's to married women? And I started following Dating Divas. They were true inspiration to me for like bedroom games and things. And when it came down to doing a blog, I thought, well, this is like the most logical thing because I can talk about this.
Right.
And not a lot of people are talking openly about sex in a way you want to listen to it. I think more are now, but not when I started.
Why is it important that we talk about sex in appropriate ways?
Well, one of the things that we found is that so many times, Love, Hope, Adventure, first of all, is not a crisis marriage blog. We have people that come to us and say, we're having all of these issues and blah, blah, blah. And we always try and help people. But our focus is before you're in trouble. Strengthening the marriage in advance, so to speak. But we still have people that come to us and say, why won't my husband do this? Or my wife doesn't like that and these kinds of things. And the first thing we tend to both ask is, well, what did they say about it when you asked them about it? And then you kind of get this, crickets of, well, we haven't talked about it. And what we've realized is that without that communication in marriage, across the board, it's going to damage various parts of your relationship. And what we found is that sex is a topic that is not often talked about among friends, in social groups, at church, and sometimes not even between the husband and wife themselves.
Or if it is talked about, it's the butt of a joke, or it's
right.
something to be embarrassed about, not something to be embraced
right.
and cherished and loved, or at least emphasize all the good parts that come from a great sex life.
Right. Absolutely.
Today I want to talk about, I'd like for you to teach us a little bit about how to spice things up in the bedroom a little more and to get a little lucky. So Keelie and Austin, what's like one thing you can do in the bedroom to really spice things up?
Well, I think that on our blog, we've taken the mindset that teaching people to do things and giving a little bit of a script is the first step in building confidence.
Yeah.
Because one thing Austin taught me early on is that confidence is sexy.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, as silly as you feel about it, just do it confidently.
Yeah.
Like what they tell you in choir, just sing Watermelon as confidently as you can.
If you can't sing good, at least sing loud, right?
Or sing loud.
And so one of the ways that that's kind of like manifested itself on Love Hope Adventure is through things like bedroom games and little tutorials that we do and things like that. And the whole point of the bedroom games is to take the creativity part out of your hands and just be like, here, do this. And the first game that we built, we didn't even have the blog yet. We actually built it for some friends and, product tested it. And it was amazing because it took all of the burden and the stress off of what do we do now? What would be sexy right now? And instead you're just doing this thing on the card. And so at a certain point, Keelie kind of took that to another level by doing a couple of how-tos on the blog. One of them even with a kind of a video, I guess, right?
Yeah, tell us more about that. What's that how-to?
Well, it's about a sexy lap dance. And I honestly don't remember why I did this. Probably somebody asked me, like, how do I do a lap dance? And I think, if you're like us, you don't watch porn and you don't watch really sexy or steamy scenes in movies. So you have little to no idea what to do for a lap dance. The only thing you ever see is that little glimpse in a bar where, the police come in and they've got their leg all the way up a pole and you're like, there's no way I can do this. So,
When the detective has to meet up with the informant and it's always at a strip bar.
And everybody acts like all that's not going down in the background. I'm like, how are y'all focusing on anything? I'm just asking y'all that,
Right.
So
and if that's your only image of what a lap dance is,
then you say, I can't do it.
It's not real. It's cinematic. It's not what really plays out.
So, and for crying out loud, how do you search that out?
Oh yeah.
Part of the heartbeat of the blog is providing resources to people that aren't going to be a problem, so we try and keep our language fairly clinical, that kind of thing. We don't want our blog to become part of your bedroom in that way. And so Keelie said, where else are you going to figure out how to do a striptease, do a lap dance without having to, like we said, watch something ridiculous,
So, I mean, the most basic elements of a lap dance is you got to have a chair you can work with. So you're definitely going to need to get a chair that doesn't have arms on it. Because that's just not going to work. It's going to really limit you. And I don't even know that I think couches are as good a thing either. Like, I think I've tried rocking chairs even in the past, and that's not been really a very good option either. Yeah. So, obviously a lot of people don't want to start getting their spouse into this thing and be like, let's try this, because they do want to do it for a show. You should definitely check the height of your chair before you get started. And then I say pick a song that you feel the movement to, something that you like. Maybe you're not naturally a dancer and that's okay, but you probably have something that you like, something, whatever it is.
Some kind of music that just gets you moving a little bit.
Or something romantic, right? Or something just in a romantic mood.
Right.
And most people can dance at least enough to music or sway to it that it does help. So certainly don't get something that's too fast, because it doesn't matter. You will pick up your cadence. I mean, it's just like running music. If you get something that's really fast, you're going to pick up the pace naturally. So you have to choose the song that is slow, whatever that song is for you. And I don't recommend a song that you're going to sing to, because that is distracting. Like, if you're somebody who cannot not sing when your jam is on,
just focus on the lyrics too much.
And I think personally, so I did a little bit of a step-by-step instructions on this. And I think that the easiest way to get started on a lap dance is to start behind your spouse, because it allows you to just sort of get warmed up to what you're doing. You can stand behind them invisibly. Yeah, invisibly.
Right? You kind of get into it before the eyes are on you.
Yeah.
And for the person dancing, if you're not real confident, that can help out. But then for the person sitting in the chair, there's a little tease going on there. Yeah. There's like, hey, what's happening back there? Right. Come on, and it kind of can build some anticipation. I did want to pause real quick. We're getting ready to jump into sort of the step-by-step how-to. But I wanted to say to start off with, we're not talking to wives. We're
Yeah.
talking to people. We're talking to couples. What I'm saying is, guys, jump in. Okay. Don't cut off the podcast now and be like, oh, she's talking to all the
Oh yeah,
women.
my wife will never do this.
Yeah. One of the first, I think it was the first bedroom game we ever made. One of the prompts was give your spouse a lap dance. And I drew that card.
Oh yeah, he looked at me so weird too. He
I
was
looked-
just like,
Right. And I looked at her and I was like, oh, I guess I have to draw again. And she looked at me and went, I don't think you
I don't
do.
think you do.
And I was like, but and in my mind, I'm having this wrestle with, but that's not what guys do. And then I thought, why, like, why not? What's wrong with that? I don't know. Let me jump in and see what happens. And it was awesome. Okay.
Well, you know what's interesting about that is it's literally the first thing I ever asked you to do in the bedroom that gave you pause.
Yeah.
So that was a little different. Maybe even drew a little perspective for him when I was like, I don't know if I want to do that thing you want me to do.
Right. Yeah. So again, first of all, guys, get in the game, be part of what's going on. You need to be doing the lap dances and the strip teases too. And maybe we can talk more about, you think strip tease and you think lingerie and things like that. That could be a whole other podcast episode.
I mean, there
right?
is like full movies about men doing
There
stripteases,
is. Okay, but how many of the guys listening right now have seen any of those movies? I'm not saying none of them have.
I hope they haven't actually.
Yeah, but it's not the stereotype. It's not the stereotype, right? So get involved, guys. And step one, we're talking to men and women here, and then step two, confidence. It's all about your level of confidence. So guys, get over yourself, be confident for your woman, and jump into it. Step three, get a chair, and then we're off to the races.
Right.
Then what happens?
Yeah.
Oh, after you get the chair?
Yes.
So you said start off behind them.
You definitely need to start off behind them. This, I think, will help you to, kind of grow in confidence. And this allows you to rub your spouse with your hands. You can do whatever you feel. I think that one way that we design our bedroom games is to build anticipation. It's the same way with a lap dance or a strip tease.
Yeah.
You are building anticipation. So don't go straight for the groin right away. Start with something a little more tender, because honestly, if you go into it too fast, it actually is kind of annoying. You're like, I'm actually not there yet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Warm things up.
Don't grab too fast. So then, after you've spent a few beats, and obviously your songs are only going to be like 5 or 6 minutes. So this isn't like forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not going to spend a lot of time doing this. You should be walk around, and just walk around slowly. And it doesn't have to look sexy in your mind. Honestly, at this point, your spouse is just going to be floored that you're doing this for them. Whether you're the husband or the wife,
Yeah.
I mean, this person is putting on a show for you. And so you can sit back and feel loved and cherished for it. So, and the truth is they can't even see what you're doing, really, because you're coming around behind them and they're in front of you. So, try to get that out of your mind in that movie perspective.
Right. So kind of come around to the side, and you don't even necessarily have to like just do a lap, come around, like she said, just kind of beside them and hang out there for a minute, just sort of hands on wherever you want to put hands, put a foot up on their leg, that kind of thing. You're just kind of going for very, very basic touch at the beginning. Like you said, we're just trying to prime the pump. We're just trying to, hey, remember how much we love each other and how much we love being in the same space with each other and touching each other and that kind of thing. And I think one thing that you said is kind of key is to move slowly, whether that's as you're walking around, as you're touching, put your hand on their shoulder and just run it down the length of their arms slowly. Those kind of slow movements match up with the song, that kind of thing. And then make your way around in front of your spouse, and you're just kind of, throughout, touch and go. Make some contact with your hand, but then maybe let off for a second. Again, sort of like, hey, like, you want them wanting more, right? Right. Sort of build that anticipation there.
And there's a few basic moves you can do for any lap dance, and that is bend over in front of your spouse, either way, away from them or towards them by putting your hands on their legs, rubbing them, increase where you're rubbing, how much frequency, kiss them. And I am going to put this out there for, because we were talking about this ahead of the podcast, that, there's a big size difference between Austin and me. And I don't honestly think it's a good idea for him to sit in my lap. So
not so much.
Couples are going to have to totally figure that one out. Maybe sitting on them completely isn't going to work for you.
Right.
And then, so those are just the basic moves. You're walking around, bending over one way or the other, and rubbing.
And you know what? You don't have to rub just with your hands.
Right.
Get creative. Like you said, again.
He's saying rub with your butt.
Oh, I was getting there. I was going to.
I'm like, get it out, Austin.
Get in front of your spouse and bend over. And again, confidence, right? Just assume that your spouse is going to love this, because by the way, they are, okay? They're just going to. And then if you just sort of like ploop, like again, if you've got, a size difference, maybe don't just fall back on them or anything. But yeah, reach in, hey, get it down close to them and cheek to cheek, rub your chest on each other, that kind of thing, wherever you are, whatever parts can touch whatever parts, just making that contact, especially in ways that is not typical. We hold hands all the time, but it's not very often that I've got my chest on her back, right. That kind of thing. So mix it up a little bit.
Well, those are pretty much our ideas on lap dances. Daniel, what do you have to add?
I'm speechless.
Makes for great radio.
You caught me off guard. I would say you can sit facing each other, like you can sit on their lap, like facing them, kissing them, and then like turn around and then like face away from them. And you can really, there's a lot of different things. There's different ways you can touch. You can like reach down between your legs to touch. You can like reach around to touch. And the other partner can reach around and like hug you and then touch too. So it can become a really romantic way. Oh, and then I would add is if you're the man and your wife is sitting on the chair, you can kneel down on the floor in front of her. Oh, yeah. Have her scoot up close to the edge of the chair, and you can like jiggle her with the tip of your penis, or you can like really touch and like fondle in that way, and it might be a really beautiful thing for her to see, like you kneeling in front of her and giving her pleasure too. Like there's a lot of creative things you can do.
Yeah, and one thing that we didn't really address, because we're kind of like we're talking striptease and lap dance, and you can do those in either order or even combined. And I'm curious now, between the three of us, what level of dressed are we picturing all of this happening in? Because you could start out the lap dance, both people fully clothed, or you could start out both people fully naked, or in some in between, and sort of incorporate that into it. So as you're doing, sort of the lap dance, maybe you are fully dressed or in some sort of, sexy wear, that kind of thing. And part of the dance is pieces of it are coming off. It can, so this can be something that, like Keelie said, it can be a 3-minute song, or you could find just sort of generic, like just grab your phone and look up YouTube, music, like sexy saxophone music, and you'll find like 3-hour playlists, and just hit play and just take your time. So it can be something that kind of progresses. It doesn't have to be like, I pressed play and the dance started and then the song was over and now we're done and that's how the thing works. It can be, by the way, if that's easier, sometimes it can be good to have an end point and to say, now I'm done because the song is over. And so now we're going to move on to whatever. But you can leave it a little more open-ended so that the lap dance incorporates the strip tease, which turns into a little bit more foreplay, which, and there's not like a start and stop. It's more just sort of a spectrum for the evening.
And that's part of the fun, right? To see how it unfolds. And you're just like, it's really impromptu. And that's kind of the fun of it.
Well, I want to definitely point out that it's important that you laugh and smile because see, whenever
Yeah.
you see those brief scenes of lap dances and strip teases and stuff, everyone's so serious, and I'm like, I have literally never felt this serious in the bedroom, so I don't get it.
Just-
Yeah, they're just that
This
serious.
is very, yes,
It's a very serious
this is
matter
very
here.
sexy. I'm really enjoying this.
I'm like, just smile. I tell that to Austin all the time. I'm like, how do I know if you're happy? You're not smiling.
Let's talk about the ambience in the room. What things can you do to enhance the whole experience in like the bedroom?
Oh, Keelie is all about atmosphere and ambiance, man.
I really am.
Not just in the bedroom,
What are
just
your
like
tips,
in life.
Keelie?
Well, I don't currently have any lights hanging around in my bedroom, but I do love to hang Christmas lights in the bedroom. So for a lot of years, we had something over our bed that was just like a curtain with lights. And it was very simple. I hung it from the ceiling with like a dowel rod, and we strung lights and some sheer curtains over it. So that kind of lighting is always amazing because you can cut off everything and have just enough for that. I don't know if you can get that same kind of ambiance with candles. You can try.
You can. It takes
It just takes
lot
a
of candles.
lot of candles.
Yeah, there was one time years ago where I took probably a 25 pack of little tea light
It
candles
just takes forever to
and
set
just
that up too.
covered like every surface, like the dresser, both end table, nightstands or whatever, and just covered everything in these little tea lights and lit all of them. And like she said, I probably spent like 5 minutes setting them out and lighting them and everything, but it was amazing. And I was very careful to place them. It's nothing near the bed where it was something was accidentally going to get bumped.
Over.
And so the big thing is just sort of soft, warm lighting is really, it's really cozy and calming and sexy.
And it makes anybody who is worried about the way their body looks, like pretty much everyone looks amazing under a warm glow.
Yeah.
They just do. It doesn't matter. They just look better, and it can help with, because there are a lot of spouses out there, and I know a lot of wives deal with this because I have a lot of wives write into me and husbands that they say they don't like the way they look and they don't want to be naked in front of their husband, and they don't even want to be in lingerie in front of their husband. And my solution to that is A, low lighting, B, look at yourself in the mirror every day and just get yourself accustomed to it. And then wear as many layers of clothing as you need to. And then you can have the lap dance. Just find something you feel sexy in. I don't wear a ton of lingerie. I don't think it's built for curvy girls most of the time. So I wear just a lot of outfits.
Right.
What else can you do to enhance the bedroom? Like I've heard you mention mirrors before. Can you talk?
Oh, yeah. So, if you have the ability to hang one of those $5 mirrors they sell, they're usually sold around the time people go back to school for college.
They're the ones that are like about 2 foot wide and maybe 4 or 5 feet tall.
long.
They're designed to hang on the back of a dorm bedroom door. And
you can have a strategically placed mirror
Yep.
that hangs on the wall. If you don't have that ability, then you can use handheld mirrors. And I know it seems kind of silly because you can look down at whatever's occurring, whether this is during oral sex or something, but using a handheld mirror or even the camera on your phone, and I'm not mentioning recording, I'm just saying use the camera on your phone, you can see so much more what's going on. And I know there are a lot of people out there that don't want to see what's going on, but I do encourage you to get to that point because it just makes the experience better.
Yeah. And getting back to the strip tease and lap dance and stuff, if you've got a mirror nearby, like she said, especially one that's hanging on the wall, position yourself so that the person that is in the chair can use the mirror to see a whole other angle of things. And that's just amazing. So like when you're faced away from your spouse, they're seeing one side of you, but then in the mirror, they can either see a side view or see the front or, whatever. It just adds some dimensions and some angles to things that is really awesome in the midst of things.
And it can be really intimate too, because intimacy at its core is about being seen and allowing people to see. So keep your eyes open during sex. Like look at each other,
Yeah.
look at each other deeply into the eyes. Like, this isn't just about bodies joining. This is about hearts joining too.
Right.
And just really enjoying something beautiful together.
Yeah. And, you know, we skipped right over something because we kind of take it for granted. Keelie was talking about soft glow lights, candles, those kinds of things. But if you don't have those things, at least have the lights on. If you're
like the bedside table light.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be like the full,
I hate the overhead light on.
But if you're one that like I remember growing up, it was just sort of a stereotype in the culture. I thought sex happened without the lights on, and I remember thinking like all throughout my life, I was like, why would that be? Like that seems like the opposite of what I want going on. And as it became an adult, and we started interacting with people at Love Hope Adventure, I realized that a lot of people do that out of like shame or fear or lack of self-confidence or whatever. And I just think that there's so much that's being missed by eliminating that entire sense from the experience.
Yeah, those are typically the couples that aren't doing lap dances or strip teases or having any conversation about sex at all, because this is...
So step one of the lap dance shouldn't be confident. It should be turn the lights on. Like if the lights are off while you're having sex right now, that's the first step. You got to get that back on. Yeah. And again, like she said, get some soft glow stuff. Don't do LEDs. It's like you're being blinded by the blue light. You know, get some soft glow, and like she said, everybody looks amazing under candlelight and Christmas lights. So.
Tell me about other things you can do in the bedroom to spice things up. Again, we're talking about getting lucky today.
Okay, let's see. So, I mean, we did talk a little bit about the striptease element.
Yeah.
And I think that you can do a striptease and it doesn't even have to be that big of a thing. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of husbands watch their wives get undressed in general, just like trying to get changed for the day. I think that a lot of times there's this idea there has to be a lot of production behind this kind of thing, but there doesn't. The biggest tips for striptease is start with clothes on, maybe even extra, and then slowly take them off. But maybe not difficult clothes.
Incorporate some prop type stuff. Put on a scarf. Put on a hat. You know, like extra. I mean, it sounds dumb, but put on extra things to take off. You know, and go slow, like just like with the lap dance. Go slow. Don't just be like, you know, pull everything off all at once. Have some layers to play around with. And
I definitely recommend things you can easily get out of, because like nobody wants to be tripping over their like pants are just not easy to take off, honestly. At least not female pants. I think male pants are much easier. Female pants, you're like,
we have a lot easier unless we're wearing skinny jeans or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like taking off a layer of skin. All right, I'm gonna have to sit on the bed for this. You know.
I was about to say, I don't know if you want part of the striptease to be here, grab the bottom of my pant leg, but maybe you do. Maybe you want to get them involved. You know, untie my shoe, baby. Oh yeah. And again, that all goes back to confidence. You've got to trust that your spouse really does love you, care about you, and thinks you're sexy. You know, if you can start there and then do anything, I promise your spouse is going to, like Keelie said, just be floored that this is happening. You know, don't feel like your first time out, you've got to, do some amazing routine. Just get involved. I'll tell you, Keelie mentioned a lot of times husbands watching their wives just get undressed and things like that. We had a moment in our marriage years ago where I don't remember if she might have been getting dressed or undressed or something like that. And I was just kind of watching, you know, I'm like, hey, how's it going over there? And wasn't saying anything, just sort of looking at her. And she looked at me and said something along the lines of like, why are you staring at me, or stop staring at me, or something. And I was like, I was really thrown back. And I was like, but you know, like you're sexy. And like, I want to look at you. And she said, but it's weird. It's creepy. And I was like, oh, well, there's the end of our sex life right there. Like, I mean, I was like, and she could see it on my face because I was like, if I have just been told by the only person that I'm supposed to be looking at that it's creepy when I do. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's it. Now I give up because I don't know what to do now. And she saw it on my face and she was like, oh, wait, no, babe, I'm sorry. Like, it's not creepy. And like, I said something about, you think that I'm creepy or something. And it completely flipped like instantly. And I told her a couple years later, I was like, you kind of saved our sex life, maybe our marriage, by flipping that so quickly because I was just done. And so it was her realizing like, that's part of our relationship is we get to enjoy each other like that. So we have to trust each other and enjoy looking at and being looked at and those kinds of things. Start from that position. Start from the assumption that your spouse likes you, likes your body, wants to enjoy you, those kinds of things, and let that be that initial bump of confidence that you need to turn the lights down low and, start taking off the scarf. Don't take it off in a sexy way. You don't even know what that means. Just take it off. Okay. And let that be the sexy part. Let that be enough of it.
Right.
And just go through that. And you might find yourself partway through going, oh yeah, like I kind of know what I'm doing now, and get a little bit into it,
Can I add one thing about being sexy? One thing I've learned is sexiness is who you are. So if you tend to be like a goofy personality or more on the silly side like I am, make that part of your striptease or whatever.
I like that.
That is sexy. If you tend to be more of the serious type and you like the smolder look, well, do that because that then is sexy to you.
Smolder.
If you tend to be more of the really slow, take my time type of a personality, then work that in. You don't have to like pretend to be someone you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
Sexy. That's really exhausting and you can't keep it up. But just being yourself, then your sexiness.
I really like that because that's who they married.
Yes.
Like they married the silly guy or the funny guy or the serious smoldering guy or, like, yeah, absolutely.
I've never met a serious smoldering guy.
Or the shy. The shy is really cute.
Exactly. And those qualities about you attracted your spouse. So why wouldn't they find it sexy? I like that. That's a great take. I like that.
So exaggerate your natural strengths, not try to hide them and then something that you're not.
Yeah.
For a show.
Use your shy, timid nature to your advantage and make that sexy. That's awesome. I like it. Very cool.
We both have a shared love for bedroom games. I want to talk about that a bit as far as bringing more creativity to the bedroom. Can you tell me about?
Well, I was just thinking it's St. Patrick's Day, right? And St. Patrick's Day has always been a big thing in my family where I am fourth or fifth generation Irish immigrant. And so it's always been a big to-do in our family, and we always went to the parades and everything. And so years ago, it was like the second or third bedroom game we ever made. We decided to base it off of playing cards. And I forget exactly how we got there, but instead of using clubs as the suit, we used shamrocks, and we called the game Kiss Me, I'm Irish. And all of the prompts are kissing based, right? And so you go through them, and they start, as Keelie said, we try to ramp things up, right? So the first few prompts are very, very basic. If I remember correctly, I think one of them is like butterfly kisses, like eyelash kisses. It's not even your lips. Like that's how low we start out. And then it builds and it grows and it gets, it'll take you right on up. And I think it even goes right on up into oral sex.
Probably. I don't remember.
But there's shades all through there. And again, the core thing for it is it takes the burden of creativity off of you. You don't have to think, how am I going to be sexy now? How am I going to be sexy next? It's literally just you pick up a piece of paper and read what it says and then do what it says. And again, if you go into it with both of you trusting each other and saying, let's have some fun with this. Let's just follow along with it. And if it feels weird, if it feels silly, if maybe it feels a little uncomfortable, we're just going to kind of roll with it. As long as we're staying, like if it's pushing me too far, maybe I'll say no. But other than that, I'm going to stick with this and just let it flow along. And so each of the games that we've developed, that's the core. Warm you up slow, take you as far as you want to go, and take the burden off of you. Just chill out and have some fun with your spouse.
I want to point out something interesting. And I don't know, Daniel, I think maybe you had a little bit different experience than this, but when Austin and I played our first bedroom game, our sex life was fine. I mean, we were pretty active. We were like 10 years or more into the marriage, but I mean, if you had asked me how our sex life was going, I'd been like, oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's good.
It's great.
Doing good.
And then we played this and I created the bedroom game because it's something the Dating Divas posted. It was like this DIY bedroom game board on your sheet or something. It seemed very complicated. So I had him design a PDF. And we're like, well, I don't know. We've never done this before. Let's try it. Right. And it was so amazing simply because it prolonged that session. And when, as a couple, what's the thing you want to do when you have sex? You want to get to orgasm, right? Like that's the thing that feels amazing. Let's get straight there. Well, with the bedroom game, it causes you to slow down. And what I think happened for us is not only did it help with that one time, it kind of created this kind of maybe like a culture or something more into our relationship that caused us to look for ways to do those sort of things throughout the day or before having sex at other points.
Yeah. So definitely prolonging things and we just our personality types. I'm like a stickler for rules and all these kinds of things.
And I'm not.
And she's not. So whenever we're building these prompts, sometimes we would do time-based, right? So like in the Kiss Me I'm Irish, one of them would be like, kiss me very passionately for 30 seconds. And the reason that I did that is because I like having like that rule where right when it's getting good, you cut it off, because it does.
And I don't like
that she
rule.
doesn't. There's several times where she's just kind of like taking the game and just like slide it off the bed and be like, that's it. But I like where it's like when you're in a writing class in high school and you're learning about meter and rhyme schemes and all this kind of stuff. And you think this is dumb. It's going to stifle my creativity. And then the teacher makes you do it. And you realize you have to be like more creative and you enjoy it more when you have to do it within, the structure or whatever. Keelie's probably mentally shaking her head right now. But it's the same thing. You put into place these, like here's how things are going to go. And it forces you to prolong things. It forces you to spend more time on your spouse. It forces you to, things start progressing, and having to pull back is just going to make things last longer, which I don't know as much for women, but I know guys.
I mean, there does get a point where it's like, okay, if you don't do something now, this is not happening.
There's
I'm gonna explode.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say for guys though, and maybe the same for women. I'm not one, so I don't know. Doing that where you kind of like, you really start boiling, things really start going, and then you just stop because now you've got to like roll the dice and draw another card or whatever. It not only builds the anticipation in the moment, the ending is better too. It's just everything just builds up and it's sort of like a big payoff at the end. Is it the same for women? I don't know.
Well, I mean, like
Maybe
I
for
said,
some.
there gets to be a point though where if a woman doesn't orgasm, then she's going to actually lose her ability because now she's just past that point.
And that's when you throw the dice across the room and you just go.
This has to happen or it's not going to happen.
Right. Some of our bedroom games have never been completed. That's fine. That's fine.
Keelie and Austin, this has been a wonderful interview. You've shared so many great tips. One last burning question I have for you is, if our listener is, let's say, in a pretty good marriage, kind of like you described, and things are working pretty well, but they've been plateauing. They're ready to take things to the next level. What are your black belt sex tips to really get things from where they are to the next level? Some advanced stuff, graduate level stuff.
Huh.
Do you have an idea?
No.
Well,
I'm
I
searching.
think
Do you?
bedroom games is absolutely one of those things. So because I think you have to set aside longer time to have sex. So that's my top black belt tip is have a sex date. Plan an hour and a half, 2 hours where you're actually going to engage in sex and agree to not orgasm for at least an hour or more.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's really beneficial because it causes you to do something fun together that is sexy. So like maybe you will have fun doing a lot of stuff, but when it comes to sex, this is like what, a 30-minute thing you do during the week? Prolong it.
I would say do something different. If you think your sex life is great, and maybe like, how could it get better? Figure out something different, a different time, a different location, a different position or set of positions. I would say quick tip for just across the board, wherever you are in your sex life, try more than one position in a session.
I think that's really beneficial because most women can't orgasm in the same position their husband prefers.
Even if it's just one for him, one for her. But try and go beyond that. Try and, go for 3 or 4 different positions in a given session. And then maybe challenge yourself and your spouse on something that you've never even thought about, never even considered before. I tell you what, pick something that in your mind, you're like, that's not a thing, not that it's wrong or I'm against it, but just like, that's not a real thing that we ever even talk about. And then go to your spouse and ask them their thoughts on it, because maybe they've always wanted to try that thing, but we're afraid to ask you. And so just give them the freedom to say, what's the thing that we've never asked each other to do or try or whatever? What would that thing be? And just see what happens.
I like that. Very good. Thank you very much. If people want to learn more about you and what you do, how can they find you?
They can go to lovehopeadventure.com, and there's a way for them to subscribe to the newsletter. So I send out the most recent blogs and just other resources that we create. We're very value-based, so I give real tips, real information, and I just say it.
You get a free game.
Oh yeah, you get a free game if you sign up.
Get a free bedroom game for signing up for the newsletter.
It's not my favorite game, I'm not going to lie. Sexy Truth or Dare.
But it's our most popular.
People love it. They're like, I just love this game. I don't love it as much as other games because unless you order your cards, it's not really a building game. So I recommend you order.
We hope
your
that you enjoyed this
cards.
episode of Get Your Marriage On. And if you did, we would love it if you would take a few seconds to give us a rating on iTunes and to share the show with your friends. They'll thank you for life. Once you've done that, you can head over to getyourmarriageon.com for more resources about today's topic and to download our amazing marriage apps. Now go get your marriage on.
Thank you very much. Great to have you today.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Get Your Marriage On. And if you did, we would love it if you would take a few seconds to give us a rating on iTunes and to share the show with your friends. They'll thank you for life. Once you've done that, you can head over to getyourmarriageon.com for more resources about today's topic and to download our amazing marriage apps. Now go get your marriage on.